Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here with Shay the cat. Let's see if we can see him. Oh, no, we can't. Oh, we can. Oh, there he is. I'm glad you made it to camera because we're going to be talking about you right now. And grooming. Yep. You can always count on grooming when you put them in the spotlight. Yeah, so this video starts with a little story about Shay, which I think is pretty cool. And it's courtesy of my mom, sort of. So here's the scoop. Most of you, since I have a modest audience, have seen me before. If you haven't seen me before, for lack of better description and to keep it brief, I post about psychic weirdnesses in my life. I'm going to still leave it at that because I don't want to get all into it. You can watch other videos and find out what that's all about. I have weird synchronicities in my life, and I am quite an active dreamer. And a psychic told me several years ago that I am most psychic in my dreams, and I've come to believe that, and I think this is a very good example of it. So, now that I stumbled over all of that intro stuff, let me get to the heart of the matter. So, my mother was perusing Facebook the other day and looking at my page. I used to post more of this weird psychic stuff on my page, and pretty much no one would interact with me except my family, I think. And then I just got tired of no one interacting with me there, so I just gave it up, I guess. But I used to post dreams there too. And somehow, when my mom went to my page the other day, she came across an entry of mine on Facebook from March 16, 2019. March 16th, 2019. But she doesn't know how she got there. And when she told me about this entry, I wanted to go back and see it for myself. But I mean, it's buried. It's buried under 4 years of other entries, right? It's been 4 years now. More than 4 years. So that's the setup. And she copied it. And she sent me a copy of this post, and then I'll give you the story around this post. Or should I give you the story first? Okay, I'll give you the story first. Here's the scoop. I have had 3 cats in my time since I have lived in the city of Buffalo, and a couple of them have overlapped. My first cat was Gene. He died at age 16, around 2015, 16. And I also had Gabe, and they crossed over for a time. And Gabe died last summer. He was also age 16 when he passed. And last summer, not long before Gabe passed, I got Shay. Are you still there? Yeah, there. Yes, you. And Shay had been living outside. I had seen him for almost a year outside, and I had Gabe at the time, and I did not really want to bring another cat in, but I would see him in the neighborhood, and I would just feel like, I wish that cat would get a home. And I've told stories before about how my neighbor Rose and I have helped rescue some neighborhood cats. We've helped to bring them in, get them cleaned up at a local pet clinic, and find homes for some of them. Rose has taken some in, so that's part of the setup too. So last summer, before Gabe got sick, Rose, my neighbor, and I were talking about capturing Shay from outside and bringing him in and getting him cleaned up, and then trying to figure out what to do with him. Either, try to get him to another home, or at worst, at worst, release him back into the neighborhood, but neutered and cleaned up. And so when Rose was able to capture him, we took him to the pet clinic. We split the cost. And for a while, for a couple of days after that, Shay stayed with Rose's friend Eileen, and I was like, I kind of like to see him because I guess he didn't seem like he was real happy over at Eileen's. He was living in a large cage, like probably like a 8 by 8 foot cage in a back room of her house, and he was not happy at all. He was a mess. I mean, he was kind of skin and bones. His fur looked terrible. As you can tell, he's kind of an orange, yellowish cat with some white striping, and he just looked sad and afraid and angry. And they weren't having much luck, kind of just like even trying to feed him treats and stuff. And so I got it in my head to bring him in, and I knew that that wouldn't be good for Gabe. But Rose, she sweet talked me into it too. She's like, just try it. If it really doesn't work out after a week, we'll figure out something else. And I brought him in, and it was really hard. Neither cat was doing well with it, and I feared that I had made a tremendous mistake, and I felt like I had sort of wrecked Gabe's happy world because he had gotten to be my sole cat for almost 4 or 5 years since the previous one had passed, and Gabe was my buddy through COVID and everything else. And he was a sweet, sweet cat. Shay is more aggressive. Gabe was just sort of a lovey-dovey, dopey cat. And I love them both, but I mean, they were really different types of cats. So Shay soon became dominant, and then unfortunately, not long after that, within a month or two, Gabe got sick, and then I eventually had to take him in and have him put down. So that's the setup. Now let me roll back to this, it's on my phone, this Facebook post that my mom found the other day from, again, March 16, 2019. So this is more than 3 years before I got Shay. And as you can see from his appearance, like I said, he's kind of an orange and white, very light orange color. Gabe was a black and white cat. Okay, so here we go. Here's what I wrote in Facebook about my dream. I dream a lot. Sometimes the dreams have predictive qualities, though not last night's, I don't think. I often dream about animals. Sometimes my pets appear. Last night I dreamt that a sick cat was on my bedroom windowsill facing out. The window was cracked open. It was either spring or summer. I thought it was my, then, cat, Gabe, but with discolored fur from some of his own sick, because he had vomited on himself. I took him to the shower, which was about twice as wide as usual, more like the shower at an old gym with a gray cement floor. The cat let me wash him in warm water, which was surprising and good, and I got him nice and clean. When his fur dried, I realized it was bright yellow. It wasn't Gabe at all, but another cat that had gotten in somehow. Then I saw him kind of running into or with Gabe, who probably would not prefer another roommate at this time. Then I thought, I hope the cat doesn't have fleas, etc. I called my real-life neighbor Rose, a cat expert, for advice, but her line was busy, so this is in the dream. When I looked back at a window on the other side of the house, I saw that Gabe had gathered and carried the new yellow cat, who looked pretty weak and was spread flat, to another window, and Gabe was trying to pry open the window to shove him out. Lol. When I woke up, this is the part of the dream that really stuck with me. Gabe, bad. So I took the yellow cat to a vet who tested him. He was indeed quite ill, and I believe they put him down, which at least relieved me of having to consider taking him in. If Gabe could do this in real life, he would definitely try. he would certainly think it. If a yellow cat sneaks in to my house, I'll update you. So this is 3 years before I got the yellow cat, before I got Shay. So long, so much time had passed that I forgot that I ever had the dream at all. And my mom finding it randomly on Facebook the other day as a 4-year-old post is so random, seemingly random. But of course, you know what I'm going to say. It's a synchronicity. She was meant to see it. It's a ding ding moment. It's the bell ringing, the bell of synchronicity ringing. So when she told me, I was totally amazed because the dream is so spot on. Like, and it's so funny because in the dream, there's the new cat is in, and Gabe immediately wants to get rid of him, and he's not well, and he's, he has his own filth on him from being outside, and he's weak. And Gabe was trying to pry open the window to shove him out, which is so funny and probably exactly what Gabe wanted to do when he saw Shay come in. But of course, he was too sweet a cat to be that aggressive towards Shay, and it was really the other way around. And that was hard for me when Gabe got sick to think that Shay had made it a little harder for him to be ill and to pass, because he was really, Shay was already clinging to me so closely that he usurped Gabe's spot next to me in bed, and then Gabe didn't feel comfortable sleeping in the bed with me as he normally would, and so he was sleeping in the hall, which made me sad and all this. But isn't that amazing that my mom found that dream? And now she said after she found it and realized that it had been about Shay 3 years in advance of him arriving, she can't find it now. So, because, like, why would it have appeared on her feed at all? Because usually when you see old posts of your own in Facebook, they say, oh, what, Facebook memory? But they show you your own old posts. So there's no good reason why she would have seen a post from 4 years ago that just so happened to be about the arrival of Mr. Yellow Cat, Shaby. Say hi. You already said hi. Okay, he's resting now. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And the fact that the dream predicts the arrival of Shay so far in advance is another one of those things that is so unusual about it and makes me wonder, because a lot of the psychics that I think people who watch my videos say the same thing, that they have trouble pinning down time in their predictions. Like, certain events are meant to happen and meant to roll out, but predicting the exact timing is seemingly very difficult, if not almost impossible. And I don't know why that's so, but apparently it is so. So there you have it. That is the cool dream that I had years ago, far in advance of the arrival of Shay. So he is a sweet cat. He is a sweet kitty. He follows me everywhere. He comes when called. He literally will come to me when called. He's always on the couch with me, which is nice because my other cats didn't really like that so much. If I get in bed and I call him, boom, he's right by my side. And I think that in some sense, Gabe knew that I could really use another buddy when Gabe was about to pass. And so I think really in the grand scheme that Gabe knew all along that this was going to be, and that, he accepted the consequences of that, even though it wasn't so great for him. But his time wasn't long, regardless of whether Shay was gonna come in or not. So And I missed him terribly when he first passed, more than I even expected to. It was even harder than losing my first cat for some reason. Not because I loved him any more or less, but maybe this whole circumstances. With my first cat, when he passed, I was just so grateful that I had him, because he had gotten out once. My dad had accidentally let him out once, and my first cat was deaf, so I had no idea how I was going to find him, or how he was going to find his way home. And my brother Steve had a vision from our brother Justin, who's on the other side of the veil. Justin died just after childbirth, and Steve has had many visits from him over the years as visions. And Justin came to Steve and said, "Gene, my first cat, he'll be back in 2 days." And so he was. He arrived back in my neighbor's driveway right below my bedroom window in the middle of summer, yapping his head off at 3 a.m., I think, on a Saturday morning. And I ran down and I scooped him up. And when I was able to get him back and know that I could keep him safe, or hope that I could keep him safe and that he would never get out again, I sort of promised myself that I would not feel sad about anything that happened regarding him being, long term, that I would never feel sad about his passing because of the privilege of having him back when I thought I had lost him. And so I don't mean that I didn't feel sad when he died. I did. I felt very sad. And that story's in my first book too, that when Gene died, I asked Justin, our brother on the other side, to go in and to get him, to fish him out from the sea of incoming souls. And then later that day, or maybe the next day, but I believe it was later that day, my brother Steve did get a vision of Justin with Gene on his lap, feeding him his favorite cat food. So that's all pretty cool stuff, and this is the latest. So there you have it. I added some extra stuff I didn't really plan on adding, but that's how it is with my videos. So cheers to that. I just got back from a bike ride, so that's my reward. These may not be as interesting as that story, but I have 2 more dream stories for you. Keep it real brief. I had a dream the other night that I was, it's completely unrelated to cats, that I was living in New York City, and that I have thought a few times over the years of moving to New York, but not in many years have I thought about it. And I never did end up living there for any period of time, but I used to visit a lot more than I do now. I had more friends living there over the last 25 years, and I used to perform there sometimes, and I would go to an arts conference there every other year or so. So I sometimes thought of New York as like a parallel existence of mine that I didn't end up living. But in the dream that I had a couple nights ago, I was living in New York, and apparently I was doing some astral travel. But I don't know that I was doing it in my sleep, by which I mean in the dream. I don't know if I was asleep, because it didn't seem like it. It seemed like I was traveling and I was awake, but I don't know what to make of that. But what really struck me was my essence, no body, was floating around the tall skyscrapers in downtown Manhattan, and it was like the midday sun was striking all of the buildings, and so those glass buildings were super reflective, and they all kind of shone in purples and oranges and those kinds of colors, like brighter end of the rainbow colors, purple, pink, orange. And it was just so beautiful. But I was traveling without being able to really control which way I was moving. So it was disorienting. It seemed like for certain moments it seemed like I was traveling in one direction, and I would pass buildings, to my left, and then all of a sudden I was passing buildings to my right, and I was definitely like in sort of like this general area where I thought, I think I live around here, but I can't pinpoint it, and I don't know how to get back to my body. But yet, it was so beautiful, and I was up high. I was definitely several hundred feet in the air, given my view of all of those buildings. And then eventually I thought, I better go back to my body, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I didn't know how to. I had no idea how to. So I asked in the dream for spirit's help to get back into my body. And then all of a sudden, it went from sort of being swirling among all these New York skyscrapers to one specific window pane that I popped through like a high rise building, and bing, I was back in my body. It's like when I asked for help to find where I lived, they took me right to it instantly. So, and then I popped through the window, and then I was back in my body, and that was it. That was that whole dream. And I just woke up like, wow, that was weird. Like, yeah, it was weird. It was interesting. That was fun. So there was that dream, and then I may have saved the least interesting for last, but I had another dream about living somewhere other than where I live now. I had a dream that I sold the house that I live in currently, which I can't imagine doing in a million years because I love where I live in Buffalo. I had a dream that I decided to sell the house and move back into my old apartment in the suburbs, the very first apartment I had when I left home, just after college. So, and even in the dream, I was already kind of like, sort of like, almost half regretting the decision. Like, why did I sell the house? I mean, I got all this money, but like, now I don't get to live in the house. So I move into my old apartment in the suburbs, but somebody else is living there. And it's like, the premise is that I'm supposed to be moving into the upper apartment instead of the lower one where I actually did live for several years. But this hasn't been communicated to the current tenants by the landlord, or the landlord has screwed up and told me the wrong apartment. So I've moved my stuff in, but there's already people living there. But of course, as I'm moving my stuff in, it doesn't occur to me that there's other people living there, so, which, doesn't make any sense, but that's dreams for you. And I only end up discovering that other people live there when they eventually come home and I'm in bed and like, hey, what are you doing here? Kind of thing. But before any of that happens, when I'm actually kind of still moving in and getting reacclimated, I notice when I look out my side window that there is an older couple living in the house next door to me, and they're on the second floor of this house, and they're kind of spying on me. Now, in real life, I never had an older couple live next to me in that adjacent house, and I don't even remember if there was a second floor window that you could see into, or it was always curtained. I was never much aware of the neighbors on that side day to day. We didn't interact a lot. Certainly, I wasn't aware of them spying on me, and not an elderly couple. So, but in the dream, I'm peeking up from my first floor window, and I see them looking at me through my second floor window, through their second floor window, and they're gossiping about me. It's like I think I can hear them through the window. They're saying, "Oh, he parked his truck in the double driveway, and it's gonna mess this up. It's gonna block so and so from coming home, or maybe their own vehicle," because there was in fact a double driveway between the two houses of this place that I lived. And they were just being nosy in general. But here's the kicker. Then it went from them like critiquing me from their place, but then they had they had astral projected inside of my place. So, and they didn't think I could see them. I knew they were actually physically still in their house next door, but their essences were in the second bedroom of the apartment. And like I said, like they were so nosy that they had decided to invite themselves into my place astrally to have a look around. And when I saw them, I I picked up a baseball bat that was in the room, and I shook it at them, and I was like, "I can see you. You're not hidden at all. I can totally see you." And they were surprised that I could see them because they thought they would be invisible in that way. So I guess maybe they were semi-psychic, whatever, too, and they thought they could get away with some astral spying. And that's all of that dream. So I guess I didn't realize that both of those dreams really kind of involved astral projection. So I don't know if that's a suggestion that I have more astral projecting to do, or what. But your comments on that and the dream about the cats is definitely welcome. And that's the latest edition from here. So hope all is well with you, and keep your fingers crossed for maybe an indictment of Mr. Former President this week or next. It kind of feels like it's there. Feels like it's in the air. I could be wrong, but it feels like it's in the air. And I'll be really happy when it happens. Yee-hee. If it happens. It better happen. It better happen. It better happen. I got my bat. I'm watching you, Jack Smith. That's not a threat at anybody. That's a joke. But yeah, it better happen. Okay, time for me to go. Bye. Catch you later. See ya.